Have you ever seen a dog waiting for an owner who never comes home? Or an elephant standing silently beside the bones of another elephant? At first, it looks almost human. It looks like grief. But is it really? Do animals actually understand death? Or are humans simply projecting their own emotions onto them? Most people assume the answer is obvious. Of course, animals know when another animal dies. They can see it. They can smell it. They can touch it. But the real question is much stranger than that. Do they understand what death means? Do they realize that it is permanent? Do they know that someone who dies is never coming back? To answer that question, scientists have spent decades observing animals in the wild, and some of what they found is genuinely surprising. One of the most famous examples comes from elephants. Researchers have repeatedly observed elephants returning to the bones of dead members of their herd. They gently touch the skulls and tusks with their trunks. Sometimes they stand quietly for long periods. Sometimes they even revisit the same location years later. At first glance, this looks a lot like mourning, and maybe it is, but there is a problem. Nobody can ask an elephant what it is thinking. Is it remembering a lost family member? Is it simply curious about unusual objects? Or is something else happening entirely? The mystery becomes even stranger when you look at chimpanzees. In several documented cases, chimpanzee mothers continued carrying their dead infants for days or even weeks after death. They groomed them, protected them, refused to leave them behind. If humans saw another human doing that, we would probably say they were struggling to accept reality. But what about chimpanzees? Did they not realize the infant was dead? Or did they realize it and simply refuse to let go? Scientists still debate the answer. Then there are crows. These highly intelligent birds sometimes gather around a dead crow in what looks like a funeral. For years, people assumed they were mourning, but when researchers studied the behavior more carefully, they discovered something fascinating. The crows were often using the dead bird as information. A dead crow could signal danger nearby. Maybe a predator was in the area. Maybe something poisonous was present. By gathering around the body, the crows were learning from the event. Suddenly, what looked emotional became practical. And that raises an important question. How can scientists tell the difference between grief and survival? The truth is that understanding death requires several mental abilities. First, an individual must realize that a dead body no longer functions. It does not move, it does not eat, it does not respond. Many animals seem capable of understanding this part, but humans usually go much further. Humans understand that death is permanent, that every living thing eventually dies, that one day they themselves will die. This level of understanding is called mortality awareness, and as far as scientists know, humans are the only species that clearly possesses it. Think about that for a moment. You are one of the few creatures on Earth capable of imagining your own future non-existence. You can think about tomorrow, next year, 50 years from now, and you can also imagine a time when you are no longer here at all. That ability allows humans to plan, create civilizations, and think about the future, but it also comes with anxiety, fear, and sadness. Animals may be spared from much of that burden. Researchers studying dolphins, whales, elephants, great apes, and several other intelligent species have found behaviors that strongly suggest some awareness of death. They may recognize when another animal has died. They may react emotionally. They may even experience something similar to grief. But there is still no convincing evidence that they understand death in the same abstract way humans do. In other words, an elephant may miss a companion, a chimpanzee may mourn a child, a dog may search for a lost owner, but none of them may be sitting there wondering about the meaning of life or what happens after death. That might sound sad at first, but maybe it is not. Humans spend enormous amounts of time worrying about the future, worrying about things that have not happened yet, worrying about things that may never happen at all. Animals seem to live differently. A dog is not lying awake at night thinking about its mortality. A deer is not having an existential crisis in the forest. Most animals live almost entirely in the present moment, and perhaps that is the real lesson hidden inside this question. When scientists study animal behavior, they are not just learning about animals, they are learning about us. The fact that you can wonder whether animals understand death already reveals something extraordinary. It reveals that your brain can think beyond the present moment. It can imagine the past. It can imagine the future. It can even imagine things that do not exist. That ability is one of humanity's greatest strengths, but it is also one of humanity's greatest challenges. So, do animals understand death? The honest answer is that some probably understand parts of it. They may recognize loss, they may recognize absence, they may even experience forms of grief. But the deep awareness that death is universal, inevitable, and will one day happen to them as well, appears to be uniquely human. And maybe that is why this question fascinates us so much. Because every time you ask whether animals understand death, you are really asking a much deeper question. What does it mean to be human? If you watched until the end, that means you probably enjoyed this video. If you found it interesting, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And let me know in the comments, do you think any animal truly understands death? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.